Welcome to Beyond the Desk.
With me, I'm 𝗕𝗘𝗬𝗢𝗪.
And I'm 𝗕𝗲𝗎. We are currently interning at EF headquarters as content writer. Now we have the opportunity to do this interview activity to speak about books.
For information, this activity is also one of internship program at EF to explore hobbies or activity that you like, so it will be easier for you to explore your hobby in the middle of your busy life.
This time we have a good opportunity to interview Chris Patton as an academic operation manager. As we know, Chris has passion for books. There will be two topics that will be shared. The first is about EF book club and reading for children.
Okay, without delaying any further, let's welcome our guest, Chris Patton. Hello, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. Nice to be here.
Nice to meet you too. I heard that you really like for reading books for your daily activity. Can you tell about yourself and what makes you like reading books in your daily life?
Wow. Well, a bit about myself first. I am originally from Belfast, Ireland. But I grew up in Canada, and I've been with EF now in one form or another for more than 20 years. I joined in 2002. I don't ever remember not liking books and liking reading. It's something that my mother instilled in me when I was very young, and I was a reader earlier than most of my friends. So it's something that's always been a part of my life, and I'll continue.
Hopefully, this can be an inspiration for our body in the future. If the book club I usually see on social media are more about sharing stories with fellow members and also giving book recommendation too. Can you tell us about EF book club?
I guess we're very democratic. So we don't tell people what to read. We allow people to choose and nominate, and we vote on books to read every month. I mean, a big part of our book club is reading the books, but it's also just about getting together and talking about reading. Most meetings will start out with a discussion of the book for that month, but then they will very quickly go off on to, oh, did you read this book, which is similar? Or did you read this one, which is completely different, but the same author? Yeah, so it's just a lot of fun getting together with people who like the same type of things.
Sounds very interesting. It must be fun to exchange view from readers' perspective in book and giving each other recommendation. What book are you currently reading and what's about it? Can you tell us?
Yeah, I've got a few books on the go. I'm never reading just one book. I tend to have a few going at the same time. So I just started reading a book called 𝗕𝗃𝗀𝗀 by the English author Sébastien Faulx, which I'm enjoying so far. It's about an Algerian immigrant who moves to Paris, then tries to find his mother, who was left in Paris years before, and his adventures. I'm also reading a really big history book, non-fiction book on history, that's simply called 𝗕𝗘𝗬𝗢𝗓, A Family History of Humanity, and it's by a historian called 𝗕𝗘𝗬𝗢𝗓. That's a bit of a longer read. It's something like 1,000 pages long. So I'm working on that one slowly. Yeah.
When you walk in a bookstore or library, is there a book that catch your attention? Maybe because they had a unique cover or an interesting plot?
That's interesting. I'm not sure I've ever been really drawn to the covers, but as long as I can remember, I'm drawn to books by recommendations. So, for instance, when I was very young, I remember reading *The Hobbit* by Tolkien because my older cousin had read it and he said it was fantastic, and I really idolized my older cousin, so I wanted to be cool and read the book he was reading. Things like 𝗏ord of the Flies by William Golding is another one that everybody was reading when I was young. And then a little bit later, when I got to elementary school, there was a very popular book called *Watership Down* by Richard Adams about a society of rabbits that was all over the media, and so I read that one. And that's still the way I am. I tend to listen to other people's recommendations and go there.
That's a lot of genre you read.
Yeah, I tend to read all sorts of different things. You know, I love classical literature. I also love things like science fiction and historical fiction and crime novels. And then I read a lot of non-fiction as well, history and science and politics and fun stuff like that.
That's interesting.
Can you give me a recommendation to our buddies?
Wow, I think if I can think of a few books that everyone should read. Let's break these down into different genres. First, in fiction, there's a famous book that was written a long time ago called 1984 by George Orwell, and I think everybody should read that. Not only is it a great story, but it just tells us a lot about the world, and I think everyone should read that, either in English or in translation. If you want to read a great piece of history, then there's a book called All Quiet on the Western Front by a French author. But it's a fantastic story of World War I. It delves into the human issues of World War I and not just sort of an action war story. And then finally, if you're interested in science, even if you're not a sciencey person, there's a great book that was written in the 1980s called The Blind Watchmaker by Richard Dawkins that goes into things like evolution and natural selection, and it's really a fantastic explanation of that process. Those are three books I think everyone should read.
It's a really good recommendation. I will definitely put in my next reading list.
Is there a book that you want to recommend at least they should read once in a lifetime?
Once in a lifetime, but if you want to read something that's just really good writing, then anything by P.G. Wodehouse. P.G. Wodehouse was a humorist, a comic writer who wrote over 120 novels. Some people might remember characters like Bertie Wooster and Jeeves, or the Blandings stories, and Wodehouse wrote all of those. And I love reading his books and rereading his books just because they relax me, because he's a master of language, and he does amazing things with basic words, and he can make you smile. So I recommend a Wodehouse book if you're feeling down.
Maybe I will read next time. There are so many things that can be taken from book clubs. Don't worry, our conversation doesn't end here. Next, we will discuss reading for children.